Wow. Let's go with Josh. I want you to come in, then we'll
Okay.
go to Chattahoochee, and then we'll go to Mark. But
So
what do you think?
I guess I appreciate kind of having a few people to to familiarize myself a little bit with the case, but honestly, what I think is what you had said. She seemingly is brought here to talk to her supervisors who have brought her in, her bankers and the people who she's working for, who you said she may have not necessarily had to know this was DARPA. She could have, she may not have. My
Right.
thinking is that she was definitely in a position where she didn't know if she was smart and asked questions, she would be finding out. So, what I think happened here actually is I think she either knew something, found out something, or was just told something, and they were going to bring her into the club. Now, because you were pointing out all the numbers, the way this was set up, as a sacrifice. This was a esoteric occult sacrifice because of all of these symbols, all of these numbers.
Yes.
I think what happened was either she joined the club or she became the sacrifice. Now you know too much, and either you can, because again, you had said she was going to be in this position where this deal was going to go down. So, and there was a lot of money on the line, a lot of
And she
power
would have
for,
got some of that love from
well,
this deal
and,
closing.
and that's
I
the
think
point. It's like
she would have made money.
you can come in, you can make all this money because now you know what's going on, you know everything, and it's either that or you talk too much and you're not interested in, obviously they probably took her around. I feel like this was after she may have drank something, after she may have been told something, and then she can't find her car, which that could have been because she was drugged. That could have just been she was overwhelmed. Could have been a few different things. But that
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
that's
I've lost my rent a car before, so I mean, it's not like I don't know what that's like. But I was in
what
a really big parking lot.
and the gas, the
Yes,
whole thing with the gas,
the
that's
gas showing
weird.
empty when she just finished topping it off.
And I feel like she probably did press the button. That's what anyone would do. So why didn't she hear it? That's fishy. My point is the whole thing with their parents, and then that phone call where she's like, everything's fake. It's like you're gonna join this big club with us, and these are high society people. Very,
Yes,
they're all George. You said Georgetown, Harvard, all of the all
Stanford
of
and
them.
Harvard
Yeah,
primarily, and
and
Columbia University.
so these are very rich and powerful people. Okay, so the point is join the club, make all this money. Here is what the club is. This is what it's about. It's like we're going to show you everything, and that's why it's either you join or you become the sacrifice. And so I think that's where she may have disappeared to. She said she was going to come home for Thanksgiving.
Right.
I read that as it's like I don't know. She had talked to had an experience, learned something, and it's almost like she, you long for home. It's like I wish I was a kid again. So she
Yeah, we
says
don't know if she was alone in the car or if she was driving or not driving. Maybe she's a passenger. Maybe
that's
she's in the back seat.
yeah,
You know,
because
with her with a controller in the back seat
someone she knew.
with the two I don't know what you call them, consultants,
Yeah,
for lack of a better word, the
yeah.
consulting kill team. Maybe they're one's in the passenger seat and one's in the driver's seat, and Erin's in the back with another man. So you got three men and her, and they're taking her on a joyride until her, um, to create this cover story
It's a
that she's
play.
nuts, and then let
Yeah,
her call her parents every 30 to 45 minutes to set up the cover story that she's having a manic episode. And then what do you know? 4 months later, the Santa Clara County medical examiner rules manic episode, which they established in the 7 hours after she left Dean's office.
they probably did give her drugs because this whole thing, if she was to be brought into the club and they were obviously if they set this death and probably murdered them as a ritual, then
Right.
they probably were trying to induct her, and the way they were doing it was intended to be psychedelic. And so they give her the drugs, take her on this expose on a, it's almost a, you know, the death and rebirth thing. They take her on this, okay,
Yeah.
are you coming in or not? And then if not, it gets set up as a sacrifice, because this thing is like, we can't just say that there's definitely a sacrifice. That's definitely an element here. These people are, that's why I think this was either you are going to come and you are going to be one of the gods with us, or you die this king. You know, it's the similar, the king's death that they put Kennedy through,
Yeah.
that ritual. That's my thinking.
Well, no, I like it. I like everything. Everything you said is plausible, reasonable, and highly likely. It is a very high probability that you're 100% correct.
She seems
If
too
you're not
smart.
100%, you're like 95% plus correct. I mean, you have a good strong grasp of it. Here's the red flag Achilles heel. There's an Achilles heel
Sure,
in all of
sure.
these not in your argument,
No, no,
but
fine.
in Gladio murders,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a Gladio murder, meaning that there were military people involved in the logistics and execution of the murder. That's Gladio. And
Mm-hmm.
Gladio always works with a minimum of 3-man teams, and they usually have multiple teams of 3. And in this case, you know, probably 4 teams of 3. In the case of Sharon Tate and Abigail Folger, probably 5 teams of 3, plus a perimeter team that I'm not going to count. That could be an equal amount of people. So they could actually have 30 people involved, but only 15 of them are going to go on the property, and some are stay at the perimeter and not advance to the house. So you have a staging of people. You always have the perimeter secured, and you would have Erin with a follow car. There would be another car with another set of guys who would stay with Erin's car, and probably someone else would be driving Erin's car, not Erin. If she were medicated, I think you got to go with an unmedicated person driving the car, and then let her use her cell phone. And then here's the problem that is consistent with the Jack Kennedy murder, John Kennedy, Dealey Plaza, and Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger, Lena LaBianca murders, um, Robert Kennedy murders, Robert Kennedy murder, and the Erin Valenti murder, and I can go on. The Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short murder.
The
There's always
astrology of the day.
there's always a mistake in the cover story. Always, they always, because they know that the public's going to believe whatever the media tells them. They'll believe anything, no matter how ridiculous. It'll work, right? So here's the problem. Jennifer went on and looked at posts that are years old, multiple years old. Someone that worked with her at Overstack, is that what it's called? Overstock in Salt Lake City. She was in charge of 250 software engineers at Overstock, and I think that was beyond her capability. The Peter principle, I think, is what Rita and I call that. But I think she's a little over her head. She didn't have that job for that long, and probably she wasn't particularly well liked since she was a young woman. And if you follow the cover story, then play it back, you'll see that the cover story cannot be true. It cannot be true. So, for example, everybody who's written a book on Jack Kennedy and everybody who has done a documentary film on him, they have never told you what really happened. They spend enormous amounts of time talking about 6th floor depository. They did that for like 10 years. Then they pivoted to the Oliver Silverstein stone. Let's move it. Let's move it from the 6th floor to the picket fence, grassy knoll, where it didn't happen either. So that's all Oliver Stone did, was just reposition the bullshit story from one location where it's not feasible to another location that's totally unfeasible. Has there ever been a documentary where you just took it over the railroad tracks over Main Street, take the distance to the target, 250 feet, get a Cub Scout with a BB gun? Could he make the shot? Yeah, he could. Yeah, he could. And you don't even have to pay him. He'd do it for bubble gum.
What about the
Not
storm
paying
drain?
50 grand. Now, because I went there and I did that. I did all the bullshit stuff. And then I went, well, where would I do it if it was me? I'd go right here. Duh. I could take him out if he comes at me on Main Street. I got it covered. Doesn't endanger Jackie, because it's very clear they didn't want to kill Jackie. Okay. Do Main Street. I got that. Just a straight shot. Okay. Do Commerce Street. Doesn't endanger Jackie. Straight shot. Take him out with the left eye of Horus, no problem. And do Elm Street, left eye of Horus, Jackie's not going to get hit,
I
not going to get fragged.
I
It's
heard
like
the storm
so
drain.
easy.
That's
And
what I
so,
heard.
okay, So Jennifer goes on the site and the saying that, well, I used to work with her and she was a wackadoodle back then. And then, so this feeds the narrative that she has a manic episode. This isn't her first rodeo, right? It doesn't matter. I don't care if she had a manic episode at Overstock or not. I don't care if Jack Kennedy had 16 interns he's sleeping with. It has nothing to do with the railroad trestle, is how he got killed. And whether Erin Valenti has a mental illness or not, it doesn't even matter. And you know why it doesn't matter? Because if, let's assume she's a wackadoodle nutcase. Well, she's got a lot of skills because she just did a 7-day business trip where she didn't miss a single appointment. But more importantly, after telling her mother it's all a game, it's a thought experiment, we're in the Matrix, and then somebody clicks her phone off, like Houdini on a magic carpet, she evades discovery for 5 days and 5 nights as a wackadoodle nutcase woman, where she parks the car in a garage, I guess, because the drones and the helicopters can't find her, and the Hertz rent-a-car company can't find her with a transponder, and the bank who financed that $60,000 car, they can't find her. I mean, she's one hell of a Houdini missing appearance act. And then on the 5th day at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you know that car was parked probably at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, right, on Saturday morning early when there was no dog walkers out, and with a backup team to make sure coast is clear, nobody's out at 4 o'clock in the morning. Park the car where the diamonds are, right at the diamonds. 6615. All right, got it. Good. Get in my car. We're gone. And then you go wherever country you come from. A wackadoodle woman or a rational woman or a United States Marine could not do what Erin Valenti did by themselves alone. It takes a team to do that. Yes. To go missing for 5 days and 5 nights. 5 days and 5 nights.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why
all the electronic surveillance. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, well, that's why I say if you can debunk the cause of death that was given, then you say, well, how did she die? That was my point in bringing this up. If you could establish that she did not die from a manic episode, well, then how did she die? And then you go back, and maybe that takes you to the drink at the board meeting.
Right. Absolutely.
I would like to just kind of say one more thing, because like you said, it takes a team to do this. And what I actually, because everyone we've talked about tonight has been high profile in either money, where they went to school, etc. And whenever you get into stuff like that, you find a lot of generational trauma-based mind control. And these people are, it's a small world as it is at that level. All these people know each other, and that's the team. These teams are made up of all these people who have basically just been broken down over a lot of time and made into slaves. And so they are basically military soldiers, but they don't necessarily have to be in the military. They just have, they operate like,
well, I mean, banking is military. Hollywood, going to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Acting and Music in London, that's military.
All these people are complicit too.
I would like to add to what you're pointing out there, Josh, is that there's levels. So for example, the level, everyone that involved is under some control mechanism, for sure. They're on an obelisk. We follow orders, or people die. It's that simple. It's just that simple. And I'm telling you that they all follow their orders. They're trained to not disobey. That's the key. That's why we're going to the artificial intelligence, because I guess the controllers have just had it with people who don't obey. They're just pissed off. So it's like, we're going to go zero tolerance, right? But the thing is, there's levels. So a J.J. Cardwell and a Dean Jacobson, Harvard, Stanford level, they're not going to get their fingernails dirty in terms of getting close to a murder homicide. So they would not do it, nor do they have the authority to order the hit either. Just like Paul Castellano has to get permission to whack someone within his cult, he still has to run it past his banker. He still has to run it by a banker. He has to run it by a banker. And there's a banker above the bankers. There's the higher level of authority. There's always a highest level of authority or higher level. And at the higher level, I mean, they don't get involved at all. So they tell the next level, you should go take her to dinner and debrief her and record it, and then play me the recording after you're done with the dinner. Then we'll call Dino. Then Dino will do the follow-up at lunch the next day. Okay. And then if that doesn't go well, then I bring in the consultants who handle things out on the highway and handle things in terms of body disposal, sub-zero refrigeration, people going missing for 5 days, repositioning the car with the dead body in it at the 999 house with the 5 diamonds in the concrete sidewalk. That would not have anything to do with a banker. Bankers are not involved with the rent-a-car disposal, rent-a-car return in the wrong area, and driving her around, taking her on a merry-go-round ride as she makes calls to her parents in a clearly a hallucinogenic style episode.
That's what it sounds like.
It's not a manic episode, but it is an episode of psychedelic narcotics.
That might have been why they went with that.
Probably because, it's consistent and congruent. But that's the different team. That's a different team of knuckleheads who's been controlled and programmed. And then above them is these bankers who do the little meetings, or they you lure the victim to a particular place where then the other team will then take her. Like Jack Kennedy, he could have been killed on Main Street or Commerce Street, but a decision was specifically made for it to be on Elm because that's where they put the photographers. And I'm not talking about Zapruder. I'm not talking about Abraham Zero. I'm talking about Philip Willis. Philip Willis was at Elm Street. He's United States Army intelligence spy pilot, given a state-of-the-art camera. He took hundreds of pictures of Jack Kennedy. Nobody even knows who he is. And he was the last person to be interviewed by the Warren Commission. He's like the first person that you should interview. He was there within a baseball throw of Jack Kennedy's brain. He took hundreds of pictures. His daughter, age 14, was beside him. She saw what he saw. So you can corroborate everything that he said. And he's the only person, when asked, did you see any men on the railroad trestle? Philip Willis, United States Air Force and United States Army Airborne. He was also a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. He said, no more than 2 dozen men. No more than 2 dozen? That's a lot. That's a lot of men.
It's a lot.
And he's not going to see the shooters because the shooter's going to be kneeling down with their tripods low on the railroad tracks, aiming at the target. There's going to be 3 of those guys, 3 shooters. Only 2 fired. Only 2 pulled. 1 was like not needed. And the guys behind them standing, that's to protect the perimeter. And when you look over there, you see the standing men. You don't see the ones kneeling down. There's a concrete wall there too, with holes in it that you can put your sniper gun through with your tripod. You're not going to see the snipers because their head is equal to the top of the wall. You will not see a single sniper, but you'll see all these other guys. And he said they look like they were wearing policeman uniforms. Okay, well, whatever. Who cares? And then they just moved on. I was like, well, that's kind of an important point. Why are you talking about the school book, the school book depository on the 6th floor? I got 15, 20, 30 guys. What are they doing over there?
All of this sound, the whole thing is really, I guess I'll coin this term, intelligence engineering. And then that brings us to artificial intelligence, because they've used military intelligence to engineer these networks almost in a machine, like it's working like a machine, a well-oiled machine. And so from military intelligence into artificial intelligence. And I think the reason you said, I think it's because they are upgrading. This is a fringe concept. They're upgrading the maritime water for the age of Pisces to an air-based system for Aquarius, and that's the AI.
I've always thought that low Earth orbit, space, breathable air was all maritime. It was all part of the ocean, international law of the ocean. I never thought that was a different system.
Well, the weirdest part is that everyone would think the Aquarian age is water, but it's air. Okay. Aquarius is an air sign, and that's why literally everything now is internet, like the waves, Bluetooth. Now you're becoming a network. Now you're having all of this literally reach down to the dirt of the ground on every inch of the
Well, yeah, we go
world.
soil to the breathable air, to the water, to the farm products, to the farm animals, is a ubiquitous and inescapable system, right?
Indeed.
Ubiquitous and inescapable. The mesh, they call it the mesh.
Yes.
It's a mesh because it's everything. It's dirt, water, air, space, low Earth orbit, whatever. Drones over your head, CubeSat, ring cameras, LED lights. You see, it's a whole network of nodes
Well,
of transponding, right?
well, when you know, this is the best part, is that all of these terms have been written. For instance, crypto, crypt is where dead people are, block where slaves are sold, chain, and then the internet. You catch things with a net. With,
Blockchain.
and then we're all on the web. You know, you get caught up in the web.
Banks, the embankment, the
Yeah.
Victoria Embankment is where the obelisk is in London,
Yeah.
the Victoria Embankment.
Mhm.
Roberto Kelfie was killed on the Chelsea Embankment. What is that? That's a banking term.
Mhm.
What decides the direction of the River Thames? Banks. What do you mean by that? Embankments. You do know that they have done dredging and they've widened the river and they've made it narrower in place. Actually, the river used to be wider. They did landfill and they made the river run faster because they built homes in the landfill and businesses along the River Thames, where many dozens of bodies are thrown and tossed into periodically. And then they have the City of London Corporation, which is the 33rd District of London. And that's next. That's where they had the Jack the Ripper murder and the Canary Wharf area. It's a port facility, maritime law, banking, Swiss bank. The number one bank there is Credit Suisse, Union Bank of Switzerland, UBS. That who's who runs London is Switzerland out of Zurich using UBS out of Zurich. It's not London, it's Zurich. It's Zurich and London on the embankments at the Tower Bridge where they beheaded Sir Thomas More, who was beheaded by the prosecutor Thomas Cromwell, who 6 years later was beheaded where Thomas More was beheaded. So two Thomases, both beheaded at the Tower Bridge. Sir Thomas More and Thomas Cromwell. Payback is a bitch because I heard they botched Cromwell's beheading. They had to do it like a couple of times. I think they botched it like on purpose. Nobody liked that guy. So, but anyway, your point is well taken there, Josh, because I want to correct a mistake. Philip Willis said no more than 12 men were on the trestle. And then the sheriff of the police chief of Dallas, who was riding in the car, the pilot car with the sheriff of Dallas County. There's the city of Dallas, there's Dallas County. And Curry, I forgot his first name, but Police Chief Curry said there were 13 men standing on the railroad trestle, 13. But nobody asked him that at the Warren Commission, so it's not in the record. If you got the transcript of Police Chief Curry, you won't read that he said there were 13 men. He said it 3 years later when interviewed for a magazine. 13 men, Unity Mus Masons. But Philip Willis said no more than 12. No more than 12. And you can Google the page where Philip Willis testified, the last witness interviewed. It was either him or his 14-year-old daughter went last. And you know, it's tape on, tape off. So they've edited the heck out of these so-called interviews. And there are no public, it's not open to the public. Warren Commission 100% done in secret, 100% secret. No public. Mark Lane testified publicly. No one was in the audience when Mark Lane testified. And of course, Mark Lane, he's a cover artist, right? He wasn't there. He doesn't know what happened. He's just this guy says, well, not I don't agree with the original story. Nobody
There's so many, and even in the case that we're talking about, the Valenti case, you're seeing so many things that just tell me this network was so embedded. You had all the ability to make people look the other way, and the people who would have had to look for the bank that needed to look for the car that went missing. It seems like they
don't find it.
They were able to tell seemingly them to just don't worry about it. We've got it taken care of.
All of those things are infiltrated. The leasing companies infiltrated, the banks are infiltrated, the private banks are infiltrated, the public banks are infiltrated. So they have every level. The church, those churches that I mentioned, they're all
Yeah.
infiltrated. So that's what I do suspect that that's where her body was.
I think so too.
Because they could have her there in 3 minutes.
Makes sense.
And it just like, why make it more complicated? Because they already knew they were going to dump her at 999 or 6615. Those like they knew that. So you're not going to go over there now and draw attention to where you're going to dispose of her. You're going to go a different direction, which is only a mile away. It's 1 mile. You know the distance from her phone call to her mother, where she said it's all a game, it's a thought experiment, we're in the Matrix, where my Vietnamese little buddy lives around the corner there of Vegas and Menlo Drive. The distance from that driveway to where her car was parked and her body was found is 1,000 meters, 1 kilometer.
Hmm.
So that was only, now there's a couple stoplights you have to go through because you have to cross Almaden Expressway, which is 4 lanes. I think it's actually 6 lanes. And you may have to wait for a light. So that's going to add time. But in terms of our bicycle, if we just got on a bicycle and rode over there and we got a green light, we could do it on a bicycle in under 7 minutes on a bicycle.
Yeah.
So it's not very far away, but it's on the other side of this expressway. So you'd think if the call was here, you'd look here. No, it's on the other side, you knucklehead. But the churches are on the same side, but they're 5-6 blocks down the road, right? So anyway, let's go on to Mark. What are your thoughts about this Erin Valenti case, which happened in the city that you reside in, San Jose? Uh-oh, you're muted. You got to unmute. Okay, you can't talk. All right, Chattahoochee, your turn. Go ahead, Chattahoochee.
All right, well, I definitely agree with you, Josh, on the sacrifice tip. I think also that the fact that it's her parents' anniversary that night adds a whole nother element to it. That's creepy. And also, it's only a mile away from where the phone call and the body were found. And in between those 5 days,
Kilometer. It's 1 kilometer.
yeah, that's an impossibility.
62% of a mile.
It was impossible in 2019. It's impossible now. Just go missing for 5 days and stay within 1 mile without being tracked. And Mark
Right.
says down here he lost sound.
Right. Oh, well, he's the only person on the screen that actually lives in the same jurisdiction as who investigated Erin Valenti's death. The only person on the screen who lives in that city can't talk. I'm sure that's just a wild coincidence, right? I don't know where Josh is coming from, but I'm just going to guess he's not from the city of San Jose.
And I'm in Ohio.
Okay. All right. Well, that's where her husband went to school, Ohio State.
I'd pick that up. Yeah.
Yeah, he went. That's Harrison Ross Weinstein. I don't know if he's related to Eric and Brett Weinstein or Harvey Weinstein.
This
a lot of Weinsteins in my stories.
Yeah, it just seems like this is all these people are so embedded with each other. It probably goes much deeper than even we probably know. They probably have more connections between each other than we even know.
Well, my research is that these people, to a great extent, know each other and attend similar events over time. And if the longer you're in the cult, the more likely that you'll know almost 100% of everyone, because you're talking about maybe, 8,000 to 10,000 people worldwide are in the super high level of this. And they would almost all know each other, believe it or not, over the course of 30 years.
Well, the whole thing, like the reason that I really suspect, like made the prediction I did is because this whole thing is group blackmail. It's like either she comes in the cult and then she is participating in blackmail, so she's trustable, or we all are now going to strengthen our bond between each other by murdering her and covering it up together. Now we're all further blackmailed in with each other.
Yeah, that's the policy, Josh. Yeah, that's definitely the policy. Okay, Mark, can you talk now? Mark? Okay, go ahead, Mark. We hear you.
Press unmute one more time, then we'll hear you.
Yeah.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've been in and around San Jose for the last 50 years. And in the late 70s, I was on Page Mill Road. I was a vendor to Hewlett Packard, which is near Sand Hill Road.
Yes,
And-
very close.
And Juxta and I know well, in our own way, what was going on at the University of California at Berkeley, where the Manhattan Project was designed, which created supposedly the atomic bomb. But this technology these people have, it's not for people to get better, it's to murder people. And you can sense that particularly in Palo Alto and Menlo